That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about episode 3 of Moon Knight, the 6-part series, which is streaming on Disney+. This episode will air April 13th, 2022, and we are back to Mohamed Diab in the director's seat.
Okay, so this episode, previously Ethan Hawke's character got a hold of the scarab, so he's off to find Amit's tomb, which apparently is in Egypt. But the episode starts with Steven's or Mark's wife. What is her name?
Layla.
Oh, Layla. She, what?
I was gonna say, I don't think the actress' name is May Calamawy. She's half Egyptian, half Palestinian.
Okay. The episode opens with her getting a fake passport from a woman who knew her father, and there's clearly some backstory we're not fully familiar with regarding this lady. Then we cut to Steven in Egypt fighting like 3 random guys trying to get information. And it's quite a long scene of Oscar Isaac as Steven and Mark fighting and chasing these guys when all of a sudden he kills one of them. And he's confused because Mark and Steven are talking to each other in their mind like, why did you do that? I didn't do that. So then to the audience it becomes clear that maybe there's a third personality, but we're not introduced to that personality in episode 3.
It's like the 3 faces of Eve.
The highlight of this episode is we find out that many of these gods have avatars like Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac, and they all meet and have like powwows.
Tea.
They spill tea. Really, that's all they're doing because they all meet. And we find out that Khonshu, who's the god controlling Oscar Isaac's character, was previously like banished because he doesn't know how to act right. Mm-hmm. So they're explaining that. And that the gods explain that they do not meddle in humans' affairs. They're only here to like observe.
Think the King and Queen of England.
Oh my God. Then, to make things messy, they drag in Ethan Hawke's ass. And then he starts talking. And they're like, we don't want to hear any of this. There will be no violence. When Ethan Hawke's character tells all of them, like, Khonshu is so out of control that he chose a mentally ill person to be his avatar. Mm-hmm. And he's like, pulls out receipts. And then the other avatars or the gods are like, is that true?
Well, and then Oscar Isaac pulls a Will Smith and tries to beat down Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, they're like, no. But then they ask him, is this true? Like, are you mentally ill? And he basically says yes. So, I forgot how the episode ends. Oh. They leave, but one of the gods tells Oscar Isaac's character, go find this guy because he has information that might help you to find Amit's tomb. And that guy is played by Gaspard Ulliel.
Yep, and a character, one of his, if not his last on-screen performance, playing a character named Anton Mogart. What he has specifically is a sarcophagus bought on the black market that has the directions basically to Amit's tomb.
Can we describe the meeting of Gaspard? First of all, he's
jousting on a horse in his backyard,
but which is like this grand estate, and he's shirtless.
Kind of.
But wearing like a robe, very like Hugh Hefner style.
Yeah, he has breast meat exposed.
Yeah, it's very seductive. And then he has this sarcophagus out on display, mm-hmm. and it's not really protected or anything. And Oscar Isaac and his wife show up saying like, we really need to like look at it because we need some information.
And Anton has a past affiliation with Layla.
And he begrudgingly says yes. Oscar goes, but it's Mark doing it, but then he needs Steven's help because Steven knows how to read these hieroglyphics or whatever, or these maps. So he's like playing with the maps, and then Ethan Hawke shows up, and then all hell breaks loose. They're fighting, whatever. But Oscar and his wife are able to escape. And they're out in the desert somewhere, and they've absconded with these like ancient scrolls
from the sarcophagus.
They
tape together a star.
They tape the pieces together into literally like a star.
Literally.
And then Layla has an iPad with an app that I guess can read like constellations, because this map, this star they put together has like little pin marks. And she reads it and she's like, oh, I got the location. But Steven reminds her, like, girl, this map is from 2,000 years ago and the stars move. So if we read the map right now, we would be miles off from the proper location. So unless we know what the stars looked like 2,000 years ago on this day, it's not helpful to us. And that's when Khonshu pipes up and says, oh, I can make that happen, but I'll be put in jail, like God jail. So I'm going to do this for you, but when I go to jail, you better tell Marc to get me out. He says that. It's so stupid. And then he does this thing where he has Steven go into his little white uniform. And he starts like spinning the sky, like turning back time.
Like Cher. Like Christopher Reeve in Superman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And all of, like, you can see all the Egyptian people can see it happening. And as Khonshu is doing this, the gods are like in their little temple with the avatars, like putting Khonshu in jail, which basically means putting his spirit in like a concrete statue.
Very much like in The Craft.
I thought that was so dumb, but they are able to turn back time. And then Layla with her iPad says, I got it. The end. I don't have much to say. I'm still annoyed by this story. First off, I don't know. I didn't need... This episode really made me feel like this 6-part series is bloated and this could have been a 2-hour movie. I didn't need the opening scene with Layla getting her passport.
Yeah, with clunky dialogue where the woman's like, archaeology, one big mess of obsessive bookworms. And Khonshu, again, like poor F. Murray Abraham's dialogue, like, I'm going to send the gods a signal they can't ignore. Oh. And then we can just open this portal that can show up where you go.
No, we were both laughing because right after Layla gets her passport and the opening credits start, before we see Oscar Isaac's character fighting the bad guys, we see Ethan Hawke with his henchmen, and they have the scarab, and they're out in the middle of the desert, and they just kind of open it, and they're like, oh, here it is.
Yeah, it's within a span of like 10 feet, like, oh.
Yeah, it's so easy. I thought that was so stupid.
I hated the meeting of the Avatar gods. I hated it. And also, why are these Egyptian gods choosing these people as their avatars? Especially Khonshu, who's the Egyptian moon god. First you had a white man, and then you had Oscar Isaac. Like, why?
It's confusing. Like, these, like, how they choose these avatars. How they don't have more control over the other gods. It just seems odd, but whatever.
And also, like, this is the event in which they bind Khonshu into a stone statue. Like, he hasn't done anything before that would warrant they do that. I don't think so.
Steven is so annoying.
Yes.
It's like every time we get a scene where there's his reflection and they're arguing, like, let me take over. No, I'm going to do this. I just can't stand it. And we were talking earlier, I feel like with most superhero films, you know, there is this duality between like the person having to be like walk amongst humans and be normal, and then their superhero identity, like a Batman or a Spider-Man, whatever. But with this character, I feel like it's such a clunky device to have this character have to do this thing while suffering from mental illness. Well, and then they play it out like kind of like it's comedic.
Specifically a mental illness, which I think has kind of been by and large debunked for the most part.
By the psychiatric community.
Right.
Is that official? Like, is it not in the DSM? Or?
I think that, I don't know if it's in the DSM anymore, probably. I do know that from my undergrad as a psych minor, it was kind of like, there were eye rolls about DID, and often how it presents.
I don't think this is handled in a way that feels careful enough to not, I don't know, I don't want to say it's disrespectful, but it's just a joke.
It does.
It's just a joke.
And then I'm also confused about the mechanism with which Steven and Marc are able to know or not know. And again, they've introduced the idea that maybe there's a third personality in there somewhere. But even if there is, they also allow us to see that Mark can sometimes see what Steven's doing and be able to jump right in and not, like, how is that happening and why?
I'm confused by that because there are moments where it seems like they don't have a consciousness or an awareness of what the other's doing, and then there are times when they do. And how much control does one have over the other? Because if they can allow, it's not really explained. Like, Steven just lets Mark occupy his body. Like, he has to give him permission. But then why would Steven ever let Mark, or why would Mark ever let Steven come back into his body?
Right, and then every cue of Steven's, like every time he pops up, give me the body back. I want to be back in my body. Can I have my body? It's like, but
it's either that or when he is in his body and things are fucked up, it's almost like he has to almost like go to the brink of destruction before he'll be like, okay, fine, come back.
Yeah.
I hate that.
And then before, it's like you had to fall asleep for him to take over. It hasn't laid out how this is all supposed to work.
Also, this is now, we finished half the series, and with most superhero films, everything revolves around preserving humanity, right? It's always like some antagonist is going to destroy all humans. But in this one, I don't get the sense that there's like this impending doom. We are told that if we are made to understand by Mark that if Amit is in control, millions of people will die because this God will exact, vengeance that she shouldn't be exact.
Pre-vengeance.
Pre-vengeance. Which actually doesn't sound that bad. But anyway, I just don't get that, like, halfway through the series, I don't feel like humans are that in danger. It really just sounds like two gods, like, who don't like each other, trying to sabotage each other. You know what it sounds like? Speaking of Chris Rock, he has a joke about his wife and how, like, people have these petty-ass jobs where they think, like, they create all this drama.
Yeah.
And so his wife worked at, like, a Dillard's or something. And she was talking about how, like, Sally from Children's Apparel is trying to destroy her. And it's like, in a world where, like, no one cares, like, these gods already told y'all that we don't give a damn about humans. We don't meddle in their affairs. So why are these two gods, like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, because isn't Khonshu's thing like defender of the innocent or however you put it?
I don't care.
Again, yeah, just that there's not, and the stakes never seem really that high.
No.
Again, even how it's filmed, like Ethan Hawke wandering in the desert, like there, X marks the
Found
spot,
it.
I guess. Again, not sure what this episode's official title is, so I'm gonna call it "Tell Me That You Love Me, Junie Moon Knight."
Are you done?
Yeah.
Bye.